The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to the latest webinar from Innova Systems. Product Design Series Part 2, Internal Features. My name is Matt Goldwater. In this webcast we're going to look at how to apply various SolidWorks tools which are specifically designed to create internal features within SolidWorks 2013. Our example today is a hose gun. What we will look at today is the main body of the hose gun, which can be seen here. So if I just open up that, and we hide one of the faces, one of the bodies, we can see a variety of internal features. So we've got about 4 features here. The first being we've got 3 ribs which are found here, and in those ribs we have a cut sweep. We also have 2 mounting bosses, one on this body and one on the other. We'll talk about those a little bit more in detail a little bit down the track. And lastly we have a lib and groove feature, which is surrounding the internal face of this body here. So if we're going to recreate those, we need to open up our empty shell of our body here. So we'll just open that up. Okay, before we start we need to look at this and we need to create 2 bodies. Now I've already created a split down the middle which creates 2 bodies, but to create that I'll show you how it's done. So if we edit that split, we can see that the first group box that SolidWorks is asking for is a plane or a sketch that is used as the divide. So I've used the front plane here, which can be seen. After selecting that, you would need to cut the part. So you'd select the cut part option just below here. And that will automatically detect a body on either side of that plane, which is found here, down on the resulting bodies. So each of these would be ticked, and it would give you 2 bodies on either side. Now you can save these bodies externally if you want, just by double-clicking in the file here, and you can save them externally as a different part. For now we're just going to leave them internally, so we'll just X that. So you'll also notice that in our solid bodies folder we have 2 bodies, so we can now begin to create our internal features. So we'll just hide one of these bodies and have a look at our first feature that we're going to create. So if we just go back, the first feature that we're going to create is the rib feature, found here with these 3 ribs. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a plane on which the sketch will be applied to. Now I've already created a plane here. This one, sorry. I've set that 2 millimeters below the split face. So what we're going to do is we're going to open a sketch on that. Now to create a rib, all we have to do is select our sketch line, and I've already sketched out a guide of where we want these ribs to go, so I'll just insert it on these lines. Now you'll notice that I'm not sketching right to the edges of the internal side of the body. Now this is because the rib feature will actually complete this for me. It'll extend from the sketch line to the body in the horizontal direction, and also we're going to extend it down to the bottom of the body here. So okay that. Now we want to insert our rib feature. Our rib feature can be found in the command manager under features here, and rib. Okay. Now the first group box is the parameters under the rib feature here, and it defaults to the midplane or both sides of the sketch. You also have the option to apply it to the left side or the first side of the sketch. You can apply it to the right side as well, or the second side they like to call it. We're going to apply it to the midplane or both sides, and we're going to have a thickness of, we'll leave it at 2 millimeters. Our next option is the extrusion direction. Now you have two options. You have normal to sketch, or you have parallel to sketch. You can see by the arrow of which direction it's going to go. Our next option is to flip the material. It's currently in the right direction, but you can flip it by checking this box or by selecting the arrow. Now because this is an injection molded part, we're going to need some draft on these ribs. So we'll select a draft of, say, 3 degrees. And we're going to leave the draft to be outward. Okay, now because we're working with a multi-bodied part, we need to select our body that we want this rib feature to extend to. So we're just going to go and select our body. We can OK that off. And we can see that the rib feature has been created. Yeah. You can see the draft has been applied. If you just hover over, we have a draft of 3 degrees here. If I can select the face. Okay. Now if we go back to our next example, our built example, we can see that some fillets have been applied to these ribs. So we'll work with the first fillet, which is our face round fillet. To apply this, it's found under the features in the command manager, fillet. And instead of being a constant radius, we're going to select full round fillet. Now I'll just show you quickly what this looks like on the first rib. We can see here that it has created a fillet on the top of the rib. It hasn't extended the rib above the sketch line. It's actually made a rib that is tangent to the sketch line, so it's just removed material. So you're not adding material onto this rib here. So you always know that it's not going to extend above our sketched plane. Now we just need to add the fillets to the remaining ribs. Now a quick tip here, if you like, you see the mouse icon on the graphics area. It has a right mouse button selection. You can select that, and what that does on the left hand side, it automatically jumps down to the next selection box. So that's quite handy rather than going back and forth all the time. So we can do that again. And another option we can do here is select another face. Rather than rotating your model, we can just right click on about the face we want to select, and we'll select other. And that'll make that rib transparent, and we can select the face that we cannot see. And OK. Alright, I'll just add the remaining fillet to this one here. And OK. Okay, so it's looking quite good right now. If we go back to our built model, we can see that a remaining fillet is applied to the edges where it contacts the body. So we can go ahead and recreate that as well. So again, we're going to use our fillet. This time we're going to use the constant radius fillet. Making sure that the tangent propagation is checked on, and we'll have a fillet size of 0.5, looks about right. We'll use that. So we'll go ahead and we'll select our edges to apply. Now you'll notice a quick box has been opened up on the side here. Now we can actually pre-select some of the edges rather than going through and selecting all the edges. So this one here between left feature and part seems like a good option that is being applied. If we select that, it has applied the fillet to all the edges that we want to select. So we can OK that now. Okay, if we go back to our built feature, we'll have a look, our built model, we'll just have a look at the next feature we're going to create. So the next one we want to create is a cut sweep. Now we're going to create this so that because it is a hose gun, water needs to enter from the rear through the handle and out the nozzle. Now I know this is not the perfect design, but it's just going to give you an idea of what we can do to get that water through. So if we go back to our model, and we're going to begin with opening up a sketch on our front plane. Now we need to create our guide curve for our sweep cut. So to do that, we'll just grab the sketch line, and I've already created a line that is perpendicular to the rib, so we can use that as a guide. About there, and we'll just carry that guide curve right down to the origin. So that's going to be helpful when we create our sweep cut feature. So we can exit that sketch, don't need that guide curve right now, and we can open up a new sketch about the top plane, and this is going to create our cut sketch. So we'll just go normal 2, and we're going to create a circle cut. So we'll just put that anywhere for now, and dimension that to say 8 millimeters will do. Okay, now we want to attach this sketch circle to our guide curve. Now we don't want to add a coincident relationship because we want this sketch cut to run up the guide curve. So to add a relation, we want to select the circle, the center of the circle, and hold the control key down and select the guide curve itself. And that'll bring up an option called Pierce. We're going to add that relation. Very similar to coincident, but it's going to allow that sketch to run up the guide curve. Okay then. Alright, so we want to add this feature now, which is a swept cut. So that's found under Features, Swept Cut here. So in the first group box, it's asking us to select the profile of the cut. So that's going to be our circle. And then the guide curve. And it's going to be this line here. Now if we just hover above, we can see an example here that the cut is going to be along the path here. So you may get a cut that's just on a slight angle. And that's not what we want when it cuts through that rib. We want it to be perpendicular to that rib. So to change that, all we'll have to do is go into Options, and rather than following the path on the orientation, we're going to keep normal constant, which keep that circle sketch in line, and we know for sure that it's going to be a clean cut through that rib. So we can just OK that. and we have our water inlet, you could say. Alright, if we go back to our book model, we can have a look at our next example. So our next example is the mounting boss found here. So mounting boss comes in two forms. The first, we can do a male-female relationship using a pin, or we could use a tapped hole. And we're going to create a tapped hole, so that allows a screw to be screwed in from one side into the other body to attach them together. So let's go back to our model, and we're going to create our mounting boss now. So I'll just unhide some of these suppressed items. We'll ignore that for now. Okay. Now we want to select our mounting boss, so we'll use the Insert, Fastening Feature, Mounting Boss. Okay, there's quite a few options that we can do within this feature here. And the first is selecting the position of where to place it. So we're going to use this pad that I've created earlier, and we can select the direction of our mounting boss. For this example, we do not need to. So we're going to select the center by selecting the edge here. Okay, like before, we have two options, a hardware boss using a screw, or a pin boss which has a male-female relationship, like so. For this example, we'll be doing the screw. Okay. Some of these options, we want to enter a boss height, but that's not exactly what we want to do. We will actually want this feature to be extending up to a face. So we're going to select the mating face, and we're going to select the split line face here. So we just want to add some dimensions into this mounting boss here. So the first is going to be that diameter, which will add a 6mm relationship. Dimension, sorry. C, we're going to have about a 5mm, and for the height of that nib, we're going to have a 2mm. So now we're going to work internally. So we want a degree of, say, 3. We want for a diameter of, say, 3mm. And for the head of the bolt to go through, we're going to use about a 5.5mm. The shaft size of the bolt, we're going to give an allowance of, say, 10.5mm, and we won't have any draft on this, although you could, because it is a plastic injection mold, but let's just do a 0 for this now. Our next option is to apply fins. Now we can apply a direction, but we don't need to for this example. We'll apply, say, a 3 fin example, and we're going to apply a height, sorry, not a height, a radius of, say, 4mm, and the thickness will have a 2mm thickness, and the actual height of the fin, we're going to have an 8mm height. Now we want some draft on that, so we'll add a 3 degree draft. And for the chamfer, we're going to have about a 0.5 chamfer. You can see it's updating in the graphics area. It's looking about what we want it to be. We'll leave a 60-degree angle on that chamfer. So we can OK that now. Let's have a look at why we got some errors. We'll ignore those errors for now. We can come back to that later if we need to. Okay, so we need to go to our built model and have a look at the other mounting boss that we need to create. So we'll just show that and hide that body. So looking pretty similar to our first mounting boss, although this one is where the the bolt will be threaded through. So we'll just go ahead and recreate that on our working model. So we'll hide that. So just the same as our previous example, we're going to go into Insert, Fastening Feature, Mounting Boss. Okay, just like before, we're going to select that face that we want to insert on. And we want it to be centered here. We're going to have a hardware, but this time we're going to have a threaded component. Okay, so we want a height. I know the height is going to be around 10 millimeters. However, we want the selected, the mating face to be on our split face here. So we'll leave that. We want our diameter to be 6 millimeters with a draft of 3 degrees. And a 5 millimeter, that's fine for our bolt. E will put about 3, and we'll have, to allow for that bolt to go through, we're going to have 11 millimeters. So it gives it enough room to thread onto it. G will have, we won't have any degrees. Just bear with me for a second. F. Change that F to 2 millimeters. Okay. H will have 0, and I will have 0 again. Okay, now for our fins, we're going to have the same as before. We're going to have a 3 fin feature. We'll have a 4 millimeter radius. $8 millimeter there, and for our draft we're going to have a 3 degrees and 0.5. We'll leave that chamfer at 60 degrees. Okay, so we'll OK that off, and we've created our other mounting boss here. So if we go and show this body here, we can do a cut through to see what that actually looks like when they touch one another. You can see they join together nicely, giving enough room for our bolt head to go in and threaded down the end there. Now, if you want a cosmetic thread to be inserted, we can do that as well. Matter of hiding that body. And we can insert a cosmetic thread into this mounting boss just by going into Insert, Annotations, Cosmetic Thread. So we can select the edge. We'll have asymmetric, machine thread's good. We'll leave it at M4 and up to next, and OK that. So that thread has now been applied to this mounting boss, which can be found here. So for our next feature, we're going to go back to our completed model and have a look at the next feature. And that lastly is the lip and groove feature. So you can see that running around internally of our model. We're looking at the lip here, which runs all the way around our model. So we'll go and replicate that on our working body here. So to apply that, all we need to do is go into our insert option again, fastening feature, lip groove. Now in the first group box, it's asking us to select one body. So we can go ahead in the graphics area and select our body. And it wants us to select the other body as well. Okay. Now we can apply a direction, but we're not going to for this example. It's not necessary. So all we need to do now is select the face on which the groove selection will be applied to. So we'll just apply those to these faces. Okay, and the next we want is to select the edge of where the groove will be applied. So we just go through and select the edges. Now in previous versions of SolidWorks, you would have had to do this typically in 3 to 4 features, whereas this lip and groove feature is now a single feature on its own. So yes, it may take, depending on how you've designed your model, it may take a little while to select your edges, but overall it's a good feature to have. Okay, now we've created our groove selection on that body. Now we want to select our lip. So again, we're going to select the faces on where the lip will be applied and the edges of where the lip will go. Alright, just these final edges now. Okay, now in our last options we can alter the parameters of our lip and groove. So they all look about what we want to do. So we'll leave those as they are and we'll OK that lip and groove. Now this will take a little while to generate, and it may give us an error with drafting, which we can manually override if we need to. And that's the error there. That's fine, we can manually redo those drafts. Now we can go and have a look at what we've created. So you can see here that it's got a lip and a groove here. If we just hide one of these bodies, we can see the groove feature, the lip feature there applied. And the groove feature. You may notice that there's a slight degree of draft. That's due to plastic injection molding that it would be needed. Okay. So if we just have a look at what we've done here. About normal 2. We can see our ribs we've created, our swept cut, our boss here, mounting boss with our threaded bolt going through, and our lip and groove feature which runs down the middle here. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, then please feel free to contact Innova Systems via any of the Get in Touch contacts. We have some future webinars coming up with product assembly creation on the 12th of September, product design, validation and flow on the 26th of September, and product design, validation, sustainability and plastics on the 3rd of October. All right, thank you.